Hello and welcome to the France24 interview. Our guest today is Can Dündar. He is the former editor-in-chief of Cumhuriyet, which was one of Turkey's main newspaper. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Pleasure, thank you.
Back in 2016, you were sentenced to 5 years in prison for publishing a video purporting to show Turkish arms being smuggled to jihadists in Syria. You left the country for Germany in 2016 because you were put on trial. There was an attempt on your life during your trial. And then in December 2020, you were sentenced in absentia to 27 years in jail on charges of espionage and aiding a terrorist organization. It seems, though, that this has always been a very personal case between you and Recep Tayyip Erdoğan. Why did he take it so personally?
I guess it's more than this. It's more against Erdoğan against the Turkish media, Turkish free media. Of course, there are some personal points in that, because my story was directly, on the contrary, Turkish government was supporting jihadists in Syria and sending arms illegally. So it was like Erdoğan was caught on action, and he didn't like it. That's the main reason, to be honest. But more than that, unfortunately, everything against the government's interest or Erdoğan's personal interest is regarded as an attempt against the state. And they present it as treason. So that is more or less everywhere in under the authoritarian regimes, more or less will be the same. If you are challenging the government's interest, you are branded as a terrorist or someone treating your country.
Mr. Dündar, you live in Germany right now, but again, after you made the revelation, President Erdoğan said, I quote him, that you should pay the price. After you were released, he lashed at the Constitutional Court. When he visited Germany in 2018, he asked for your extradition. This was rejected, but nevertheless, do you feel threatened, even physically, even if you're in Germany right now?
Unfortunately so, because Erdoğan has a long arm over Europe and many countries in the Western world. He's bluffing, he's blackmailing the European governments for exchange of people like me. And unfortunately, sometimes it works. In my case, of course, there are legal initiatives by the Turkish government to get me back. They are trying to use Interpol. And at the same time, of course, in practice, there are many Erdoğan supporters living in Germany and trying to, of course, at least annoy me. Even if I'm living in Germany, I don't feel totally free, of course.
Right, and just recently, the Istanbul Chief Public Prosecutor's Office has opened an investigation against you for, quote-unquote, insulting the president and insulting the Turkish nation. This rule of law has been used more and more, but do you see this as, again, a signal that clearly they have not forgotten about you?
There are thousands of cases for insulting the president in Turkey. If you are writing or talking against the president, you are a criminal. And obviously, as there's no rule of law anymore in the country, all the prosecutors are working for Erdoğan and trying to punish the people criticizing Erdoğan. So this is very usual, unfortunately. And I have other cases as well. I convicted another recently for provoking the Gezi protest back in 2013. So there are many cases. So as long as you are challenging a leader like Erdoğan, you should be prepared for such consequences.
Right. But just as we speak, we know that Turkey is discussing with Finland and Sweden to extradite some people they want in exchange for allowing them into NATO. Are you concerned that Turkey is using issues like membership of NATO or other issues, Ukraine and others, to obtain people they want, like you?
Exactly. This is the tactic of Erdoğan. He's been using this for years, and unfortunately it's working very well for him. The last case is NATO card. Of course, he was trying to block the membership of Sweden and Finland to NATO, and in return he asked for extradition of his opponents from those countries. And in the beginning I didn't think that they could help Erdoğan in that. But of course, when it comes to security issues, the human rights issues can be, in the second option. So Sweden decided for Erdoğan, they decided to change their constitution and the definition of terror to give Erdoğan what he wanted. And it's such a shameful thing. So I really want to see European countries to stick to their ideals and refuse Erdoğan's blackmails.
Right. More broadly, how would you describe the situation of the media in your country? Turkey was ranked 149th out of 180 countries in Reporter Without Borders 2022 Press Freedom Index.
Yeah, Reporters Without Borders has been following Turkey very carefully and closely, and as they watch, as they said in their reports, Turkey's situation of Turkey's media is deteriorating year by year. Erdoğan has become the biggest media mogul in Turkey, so he owns the media, and the business guys close to himself bought the media in Turkey, and almost 80% of the media is now controlled by Erdoğan. The rest is either under threat or in jail already. So we have only social media left in our hands, and media in exile like ours, and we are either blocked, or now with the new media law, he is trying to block the social media just before the elections.
Right. You just mentioned what I was about to ask you. A new law passed by the parliament in October could see reporters, social media users jailed up to 3 years for spreading what is branded fake news. I mean, do you see this as the instrument whereby the regime will be able really to block even medias in exile or social media?
So they called it as disinformation law. It's like George Orwell's 1984's Ministry of Truth. So it's not to get rid of disinformation, but to spread disinformation in favor of government, and trying to block the journalists who are informing the public, who are giving the trustworthy news to the public. So he blocked every media organs in Turkey, and now it comes to the social media. And of course, it's very easy to blame someone for producing fake news, because, for example, giving the right numbers about inflation rate or corona cases could be regarded as fake news and put you in jail for 3 years. And it's more like spreading fear among the people. So not only us they are trying to block, but at the same time they are trying to scare the people not to reach our websites or social media accounts. And it is just before the elections. We have just 6 months to go to the elections. And of course, it's giving Erdoğan a huge advantage to block the trustworthy news just before the elections.
Right, you mentioned the elections. They are projected to be fairly tight because the economic situation is not good. Do you fear that their coverage will not be fair, or even that the elections themselves will not be fair and transparent?
Imagine we are talking about a country where there's no rule of law anymore. The judiciary is controlled by the government together with media. And so Erdoğan has the power of parliament, judiciary, media, army, police force. And how can we fight against such a totalitarian leader without any means to fight against him? So without the free media and the functioning judicial system, it's very difficult for us to fight against him. That's why, I mean, together with it, although he has all the power, almost all the opinion polls show that there's a danger for him to be toppled down in these elections. That's why he's doing his best to stay in power. And I guess the oppression will be deteriorated in the coming months. And that's why he's trying to start a military operation against Syria. He was threatening Greece just yesterday. He is trying to create a kind of chaotic atmosphere to convince people that the country needs a strong leader instead of a coalition government.
Can Dündar, I want to thank you very much for appearing here on the France24 interview, and thank you all for watching it.